Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, there will be some people of my ummah who will acquire deep understanding of Islam and recite the Quran. They will then go to the rulers for their personal motives and say, we go to the rulers for the worldly benefit, but we remain safeguarded against the evil by virtue of our religion. This can never happen. It can never happen that a person goes to the rulers for his personal motives and not be influenced by them. Just as a thorny tree produces nothing but thorns, remaining close to those rulers can produce nothing. But Muhammad ibn as-Sabah said he meant nothing but evils. Mentioned by Ibn Majah. Abu Sa'id radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam came to us while we were talking about Al-Masih al-Dajjal. He said, do you want to know of something which is more fearsome than Al-Masih al-Dajjal? We replied, indeed. He said, subtle polytheism, one example of which is of a man standing for salah, and he beautifies it because he notices someone else is looking at him. Mentioned by Ibn Majah. Ubay ibn Ka'ab radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, give glad tidings of honor, loftiness, help and authority on earth. These bounties will be conferred on this ummah collectively, and then each person will be dealt with in accordance with his intention. Therefore, the person who did deeds of the hereafter for worldly motives shall have no share in the hereafter. Mentioned by Ahmad. Shaddad ibn Aus radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying, the person who offers salah to show off has committed an act of polytheism. The person who keeps fast to show off has committed an act of polytheism. The person who gives charity to show off has committed an act of polytheism. Mentioned by Ahmad. Note, this means that he made the people to whom he showed off these deeds into partners with Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. In such a case, these deeds do not remain for Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, but for those people to whom he showed off. The person who does this is no longer eligible for reward, but for punishment. It is related that Shaddad ibn Aus radiallahu ta'ala anhu began crying one day. Someone asked him, why are you crying? He replied, because of something which I heard from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I remembered that thing and it is making me cry now. I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying, I fear polytheism and subtle desire for my ummah. I asked, O Messenger of Allah, will your ummah commit acts of polytheism after you? He replied, yes. They will not worship the sun, moon, a rock, or any idol. Rather, they will show off their deeds as for subtle desire. It entails a person fasting in the morning, something which he likes, then presents itself before him, and so he breaks his fast. Mentioned by Ahmad. Mu'adh radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, in the later era, there will be people who will be friends outwardly, but enemies from the inside. He was asked, O Messenger of Allah, why will this be so? He replied, there will be outward friendship because of personal motives towards each other, and they will be fearful of each other because of the internal enmity. Mentioned by Ahmad. Note, this means that people's friendship and enmity will be for personal motives and not for the pleasure of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam addressed us one day and said, O people, fear this polytheism, ostentation and showing off, because it is more subtle than the sound of an ant. This question cropped up in the mind of someone, O Messenger of Allah, how can we save ourselves from it when it is more subtle than the sound of an ant? He replied, read this constantly. Allahumma inna na'udhu bika min an nushrika shay'an na'lamuh wa nastaghfiruka lima la na'lamuh. O Allah, we seek refuge in you from the polytheism which we know, and seek your forgiveness from the polytheism which we do not know. Mentioned by Ahmad. Abu Barzah radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, I fear you falling into such deviated desires which are connected to your stomachs and private parts, for example, unlawful food, adultery, etc. and falling into such desires will shift you away from the straight path and convey you towards deviation. Mentioned by Ahmed.